What do you think of that? What don't you think of that? I think that girl has got everything that she deserves.
I've had 4 sips now.
She's too late for you. Too late.
Too late now, love. Right. It's like I'm forgetting what we're doing. The minute I get this week off, babe, I ain't even playing with you. I'm going to have the biggest scratch ever.
The biggest scratch
Ever. It's worse than having a wedgie.
I believe you because I feel a little bit here. Like,
I feel like mine's more at the front and taking the makeup off.
oh, I'm so excited.
I like putting on makeup, but I don't like wearing makeup. I feel like I can't breathe. Because it's like nothing. Pre-read.
You know me.
So no.
I haven't read any of
What
it.
did I say? Pre-read.
Listen.
Yeah?
I'd be up all fucking night. I'm so tired. Look at my face. I tried my best. They sound alright, and I did actually open them, and I did have a little whoosh through them. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
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 Mm-hmm.
Hello everyone and welcome to Middle Aged Opinion. I'm your host Tilly.
Wow.
I've had a drink, so it's all a little bit funny.
She's still in character of the Joker.
Okay.
And I am Emily.
Should I go again?
And I'm Emily.
Or do I not go again?
Nah.
We like that.
Hi.
Hi everyone.
Still in character.
Yeah.
This is our finale
Oh yeah.
of our Halloween month. We have dressed for the occasion.
If you can't tell, I'm a nun and she's a joker.
We have done some fun TikToks today as well, and we have decided to have a little bit of alcohol tonight instead of the coffees.
Yeah.
So not only are we buzzing on caffeine because we have had coffee, but now we've got
We're buzzing off TikToks. We've had a right laugh.
yeah.
We were getting some strange looks. We couldn't work out why.
Honestly, don't know.
I feel
mean,
like
playing
we
in the
blended
kids
in.
park. What was wrong with that?
I feel like we blended in.
You did.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Tomorrow, when this airs, tomorrow will be Halloween. And we hope we've chosen some good stories for tonight. I'm really itchy. Feel like I'm being attacked under my wig. But it's fine. It's fine. It's all good. It's okay. Right. Shall I start?
Yes. Yes, you should.
Okay. So, shall I start with the really, really long one? My favourite one.
Start with your favourite. Let's
Yeah.
start big.
I'm just showing you.
Yeah, I see you start big.
Okay.
Good thing I've
So-
got a full mug of stuff.
Now, I don't know if it was a good idea having a drink or not, but I'm going to try my best. I really enjoyed the story, so let's see if you do. And if I don't make it through, I'm really sorry about that. Okay.
She'll make it through.
Yeah, right. My grandma used to tell me scary stories when I was little. There's one that I never forgot. Okay. 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 I was 10 years old when Grandma came to live with us. It was about 6 months after Granddad passed away, and I guess looking back, she must have been lonely in the big house on her own, rattling around with only grief and memories for company. So despite a few protests from my mum, my parents took her in. There were no protests from me, none at all. Grandma was loud, fun, and I loved her. She had almost limitless boiled sweets, and she'd always slip me a couple whenever she saw me. She was always the first to stick up for me when I got into trouble too. But it was her stories that I'd loved the best. Grandma had all kinds of stories about growing up in World War II, and stories about the things she used to get up to with her friends on the south coast. After her family had been evacuated, sad story, funny stories, and adventure stories. But it was her scary stories that were my favourite. Grandma had lots of scary stories. She told me she dabbled in the occult when she was a teenager, trying out Ouija boards with her friends, tarot cards, fortune telling, and all that stuff. Most of the stories I'd laugh off or forget about not long after she was done telling them, but there were a couple that really did spook me a little. I was only 10 at the time and have, it's like me, and sorry, I was only 10 at the time, oh my God, here we go.
No, you're good.
Yeah, okay, I'm good. At the time, you have to understand, Grandma certainly knew how to bring the stories to life. She shut off the lights in my room so only the dogs come in. Cookie, for the love of St. Peter. Bed.
Oh,
Bed.
perfect.
Yeah, see, that's how I get with your one. Come on, I was in the flow, girl. Bed. Right. She shut off the lights in my room so only the glow of the night sky shone through the curtains, and she'd shuffle in real close enough so I could see her wrinkles on her face. That was me.
Wow.
And smell her boiled sweets on her breath. Close enough so her deep blue eyes could stare straight into mine. She must have given me nightmares with a few of those tales, but
Just
now
wrinkles.
just a bit. But now, years later, there's only one that I can still remember. Only one that has stuck with me. The story about the shower and Mr. Longfingers.
Nope. I don't like that. I'm already freaked.
Right, buckle in, people, here we go. Grandma told me about Mr. Longfingers one night after I asked her about her baths.
The next boyfriend.
I mean, that did come to my mind. First of all, Mr. Longfingers.
Shower.
Grandma used to love her baths. She'd spend ages in them, light candles and incense, and lie in the tub, humming to herself until the water turned cold. You're such a fucking twat. Listen, I'm in my moment here. Stop thinking about being fingered.
Strumming. That's what I heard you say. I did strumming herself. Like, it's a kid's story.
Each to their own. She wants to strum herself. That's up to her.
Her grandson's
You better
telling
mind
the
your
story.
business.
The grandson's telling the story.
You literally just reminded me of Helen then.
Not okay.
Okay. Anyway.
Sorry. Humming to herself.
Yeah, shut up. Humming to herself until the water turned cold. It drove my mum crazy. But when I asked her why she loved them so much, she said it was the only place that she could relax. It was the only place where she felt safe to relax. Reading. You know, people like me who are, well, more sensitive to certain things, we all have to have baths, she told me. Seriously, one night, shuffling closer on the bed, I couldn't possibly spend that long in the shower. It would be far too risky. Grandma stared at me with those blue eyes of hers, unsmiley, and I knew it was time for one of her stories. One of her scary shorts. One of her scary stories. I shivered with pleasure and pulled the covers up to my chin. Why is it risky, Grandma? She half turned to look out the window, watching me from the corner of her eye, pausing for effect. I waited, feeling my heart rate pick up ever so slightly in my chest. Well, she said after a moment, it's only risky if you close your eyes, of course. If you close your eyes for longer than 10 seconds. What do you mean? Why? Well, do you ever play the game in the playground with your friends? The one where someone turns their back and the others sneak up on them when they're not looking. I nodded and Grandma nodded back. Exactly. So that's what it's like in the shower. When you have your eyes closed, that's what it's like with Mr. Longfingers. A cold itch tickled my back. Who's Mr. Longfingers, Grandma? I can't take that name seriously. She let out a deep breath as if she wished she hadn't said anything, turned her back to face mine. When she next spoke, she lowered her voice. No one really knows exactly, Grandma whispered. Some think it's a creature that is attracted to the heat and the smell we give off in there. Others think it's a demon that finds its way into the realm through the days of the steam clouds. No one really knows for sure, because the only one who has actually seen Mr. Longfingers aren't even going to be able to tell you. I pulled in a breath. Why not? Grandma shuffled closer along the bed and leaned towards me, leaving my questions hanging in the air. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. Don't worry your pretty head. As long as you remember the rules, you'll be fine. What rules? Well, when you're in the shower, you try not to close your eyes for longer than 5 seconds. But 5 seconds is fine, and 10 is just about okay. But any longer than that, then what? Well, any longer than that, and you may just start to feel something in your room with you, something watching. And if you ever go longer than 15 seconds, that's when you might start to hear a noise too. What noise? What noise, Grandma? The soft tap, tap, tap of his fingers on the glass, fingers drumming against the glass door of the shower. If you do ever hear that noise, God forbid, will you make me a promise? What, Grandma? What? Promise me you will never open your eyes. I barely slept that night, hardly at all. I closed my eyes and tried to relax, but every time I did, I'd imagine a face pressed against my bathroom window staring at me. And when I did finally get to sleep, I had nightmares, bad ones. I had them all week, in fact, dreams, and I couldn't close my eyes in the dark. And Mr. Longfingers always reaching out to touch me. It wasn't any better when I was awake either, not really. The shower was the worst. That's when Grandma's story really got to me. I never thought about it before, but suddenly I had trouble shutting my eyes in there. I'd be standing there beneath the water, shampoo running down my face, and as soon as I squinted my eyes, my eyelids closed, I could hear Grandma's words running through my head. 5 seconds is fine, 10 is just about okay, but any longer and then I'd rub my hair fast, feeling the shampoo dripping off my chin, and as soon as I had counted to 5 seconds, I'd feel it, a sort of pressure, not a feeling of being watched exactly, but something close to me. I'd run my fingers fastly and faster through my hair, frantically trying to get the suds out and rubbing it from my eyes. My eyes stung with the shampoo. I held my breath like a silence before I'd scream. The seconds would rush through my mind, and I'd be desperate to open my eyes again. That sometimes I'd do it before, and again the shampoo would sting my eyes. But before I shut them again, I'd always be sure to peer out through the stained glass door of the shower cubicle, just to make sure that I was still alone. It wasn't long before my mum realised something was up. She heard me crying out in my sleep one night and came to comfort me, asked me what was the matter, and it all came out. I told her about Grandma's story and about my Mr. Longfingers. She got this look on her face when I was telling her she used to get with me when I made up something really bad. Her eyes were wide and angry looking. Only this time she wasn't angry at me, she was angry with Grandma. My parents' room is next door to mine, and sometimes if I pressed my ear against the wall, I could hear them talking in there, soft whispers. That night, though, after Mum was satisfied I wasn't scared anymore and she had gone back to her room, the whispers weren't soft at all. Oh no, I heard my mum hissing to my dad about Grandma. After the story she had told me, Mum's voice floated through the wall, sharp and crisp. You know what your fucking mother said to him now, don't you, Simon? Dad's response was a
No.
mutter. She's told him there's a monster that will get him if he shuts his eyes in the shower. A monster. The poor kid has been having nightmares all week. Seriously, Simon, you better say something to her tomorrow first thing, or I will. Grandma came to visit me in my room the following night. This time, as she perched at the end of my bed, there were no stories, nothing at all. Grandma just sat there and stared down at me, her blue eyes wide and sad. The light from the moon outside my window lit up her wrinkly face. I know. You know I'd never let anything bad happen to you, don't you? She said to me. I nodded my head. I know, Grandma. You know I wouldn't let you come to any harm. I nodded again. Okay, good. That's good. So look away from me for a moment out the window. You know the things I tell you in the evening are meant to help you, sweetheart. They're meant to toughen you up a bit, protect you. She paused and shook her head. But maybe your mum's right. Maybe I went too far this time. She looked down at me and smiled. But even though I was only 10 years old, I could tell it didn't quite reach her eyes. I'll tell you what, Grandma said. You know what I told you about Mr. Longfingers and the shower? Well, I'm going to make sure you're safe. I'll scare the bastard off. How about that? It won't come back in a hurry if it has to face me. I stared up at Grandma, watched her face glow in the moonlight, watching her smile down at me. I nodded my head once. I was the one that found her. I don't know exactly what happened, but I guess it was about a week after we had that talk in my room. A week after she told me she wouldn't let me come to any harm. I woke up early in the morning from a bad dream to a heavy thumping sound. I sat bolt upright in my bed. My room was quiet around me and I couldn't hear anything from the wall that adjoined my parents' room. But the house wasn't entirely silent. Floating down the hall, muffled by my closed door, I could hear the sound of rushing water, the noise of the shower. I leapt out of bed and ran down the upstairs hallway, heart pounding in my chest. As soon as I reached the closed bathroom door, I started banging. A deep terror was welling up inside me like cold water from a well. Something I couldn't face, and I kept banging and shouting "Grandma" over and over again, even though she didn't respond. Off to my right, I was dimly aware of the voices from my parents' room, the sleepy shuffles of footsteps, but before they had a chance to make it out onto the landing, I lifted my hand to test the door handle, more out of instinct than because I thought it might actually open, but the door wasn't locked. I kept banging with my free hand and swung the door open, bringing me face to face with a wall of steam. Heat struck my skin. I could squint my eyes through the fog and peered into the bathroom. And before Dad pushed me out of the way, before everything around me dissipated into shouting and tears and howls, I saw her. I saw Grandma. She was lying naked on the floor in the shower cubicle. The water was beating down around her blue eyes that were open, and I could also see the rest of her. One hand was curled against her chest like a dead bird, while the other trailed up the glass of the shower cubicle. The falling finger marks she caved through the steam were still clearly fresh. It was a heart attack that killed her. That's what Dad told me. He said Grandma was old and the thing that struck her quickly and suddenly. She would have died fast without pain, Dad said. she wouldn't have suffered. I know better. Even though I was 10 years old, I knew better. And years later, writing this as an adult, I still know. I also know my wife and kids resent me for refusing to have a shower in my house. For instance, everyone takes a bath. They pretend it's okay and humour me, but I can tell them that they don't really understand it, not at all. My wife thinks she does. She thinks that I still carry a trauma of seeing my grandma dying in front of me when I was little. She's right in a way, but she doesn't know the truth. Nobody knows, and no one would ever believe me if I told them. No one would believe me if I had said the reason I don't take showers, the reason I haven't had one since I was 10 years old, isn't because I'm scared of the sight of a dead body. It's because all those years ago, when I crept back in the still bathroom after the paramedics had taken Grandma's body downstairs, I made sure to check the marks her finger had carved through the steam on the glass shower cubicle, and those marks weren't just on the inside. The end.
Why did you ruin it?
I'm sorry. Did you like it?
That was a really good story.
I loved it. I don't know if it's a story or real.
Well, as a story, it was fantastic.
That's what I felt when I read it. I was actually in the bath when I read that. Like that, opening the window.
Yeah, I have shower. Fuck. Yeah, that was really good.
It was so good that, the first part, when I read the first part, was like fingered, ha, like a 2-year-old, because that's what it reminded me. Mr. Fingers, Mr. Kit Kat.
If it was a real thing,
then I'm never having a shower again.
it makes me nervous because I have a shower.
I don't think it is.
But the I forgot what I was going to say now. I feel a bit like, whoa. Yeah, no. I mean, I don't like the idea of someone called Mr. Fingers in my shower.
Fingering you.
Just being in there for a stop.
Me neither.
Like, it's a no.
I feel like there's not enough room for two.
I mean, the coincidence of it, whether it happened, that then literally Grandma said, like, I won't let him get you, and I'll scare him out, and then literally a week later she dies in the shower. Is fucked up.
Yeah, because if you are a boy and that actually happened, that would set you forever.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say that it's real, it's not real, it doesn't...
It's a great story.
It's fantastic, so well written.
Shall I Google Mr. Fingers?
Go on.
Shit, now.
Let's see.
It's a good idea.
Oh.
So apparently Mr. Fingers is like a DJ.
Top comment says, just got a shower with a glass door instead of a curtain, and now I hate it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going with it's a story.
I'm going with it's a story. It's a brilliant story. It's so good. I really enjoyed it.
Really good.
I knew it was long, but I felt like it had a really good flow to it. I was like, stay with the flow, stay with the flow.
It was good. It was really good.
Right, over to you.
I enjoyed that. Right, so mine's from Scary Encounters. So this is someone's real thing. So something heavy was crawling on me while I was asleep.
Yeah, no thanks.
It's a lot shorter than yours. I've had a few night terrors that felt a bit strange. The first one that freaked me out was when I was laying on my stomach and my head suddenly felt extremely heavy. I thought I was waking up, so I started to lift my head, and this huge wave of terror came over me and my face was struck in the pillow. I tried to scream because fear possessed me, and it felt like there was something staring at me right next to my bed, waiting for me to turn my head. I know that feeling. Turn my head to look at it. It was really weird and scary. And then a couple nights ago, something happened again. I was laying halfway halfway on my back, and I felt something shifting on my bed right by my legs. The feeling was very heavy, and then it felt like the shifting was starting to crawl up my body to my chest. The familiar feeling of pure fear came over me again, and I actually started to cry because in my head I was thinking, not this again. My eyes were closed because it felt like I was halfway asleep. I finally jerked away after a couple minutes and felt relieved that nothing was actually there. Those experiences were the most uncomfortable. I hope no one else has strange feelings like that while sleeping.
Brilliant.
I know that feeling. Like, do you know that feeling of you've woken up but you are literally terrified, stiff,
Yeah.
that you feel like there's something there, and if you turn, it's literally there,
Gonna touch you.
waiting for you to look it in the eye. I've had that feeling.
That's why I generally sleep
Okay.
with the TV on. And sometimes if I wake up like
Just
that
don't open your eyes.
and it's quiet, I've always got the remote and I like put the TV on so I can hear that, and that kind of brings me out. I know what you're talking about, where you're terrified.
Yeah, so there was only one comment. It was saying, I'd say this is sleep paralysis.
I was going to say sleep paralysis.
I had it happen a lot of times over the years, but I always focus on trying to keep, to wriggle my toes and fingers rather than focusing on things that's watching you.
Have you ever woken up terrified and you've got like your arm or your leg hanging off and you're like,
Yeah,
slide it back in? They might Right, yeah, I don't like it. It's not very often I'm terrified, but there are times where I'm like,
yeah.
right. I'm like, where was I? Right. Okay, it's a short one, so I'm not doing the long one till I finish, yeah?
Oh, I have actually got one long one, but it is a story.
Yeah, sweet. Right, 25 years ago, 100% true. Okay? Okay. My wife and I brought our first home. It was a 200-year-old carriage house. I have no idea, just a house. We had our first child there. 2 years in, I woke up because the house was cold and the front door was wide open. This particular door always needed a shouldered assistant close as it was tight. We had bolts that locked the door. 2 days later, the same thing happened. I woke up to a cold house and the front door was wide open. The next day, my wife got a eerie feeling and took my son and left the house. She said that there was a smell of something. I called the fire department and they came and confirmed the house had a faulty boiler and we were filled with carbon monoxide. The fireman said, "You should all be dead. It's a good thing that you have a drafty house." The unexplained front door opening saved our lives, and this has creeped me out ever since.
That's called a guardian angel.
That's how I feel. Or a ghost that is generally looking out for them.
Yeah. Oh my god, I just got good people.
That
literally waved over
Because
me.
when I
Whoa.
read the story, I was like, and then when I got to the end bit, I was like, that's cool. It's not so much scary, more there are evil entities, but there are also things out there that are going to protect you, and I liked it.
Yeah.
The top comment says, "Be thankful that you have friends in high places who look after you." This is a happy story. I'm glad that you and your family were able to live. Was your I don't know why that's funny, but
Sorry.
you make it funny for me.
I'm glad you were able to live.
Was
Just
your
the way
wife
it was
seeing
said.
things that creeped her out or having strange dreams as she was being fingered in the shower?
Oh my god. What's wrong with you?
It's the week. Right, was your wife seeing things that creeped her out or having strange dreams, or was it just the sense of fear? Just a feeling. Carbon monoxide has no odour, so it was really weird.
Yeah. Really weird.
Really fucking weird.
Wow.
Oh my god, save yourself.
Save yourself. Yeah, no, I feel like there was definitely a guardian angel.
I do. I feel like it was a guardian angel,
Absolutely.
or, I mean, God interfered in that. It intervened.
Final destination, mate.
No, then death would be coming.
It'll be
for
coming.
them. Yeah,
It's coming.
They
but
didn't have a
something
vision.
saved them.
Yeah, very cool.
No, but she did smell something, but yet there was nothing to smell.
I know, it's cool. Over to you, babe.
What did I hear that night? This is on Supernatural Encounters. I want to start,
But you don't.
right. I want to start off with saying that I'm a really big believer in the supernatural, ghosts and such. I had a dream that night, although it was more like a nightmare. I was looking out my window. In the bottom right corner, a man was staring at me. I feel like I've had something similar to this, like reading. Anyway, I freaked out, but didn't want to show him I was scared. I tend to have control over my dreams. All I remember him saying was, "Let me in," before I woke up in a cold sweat. As I was gaining my composure and falling asleep again, I suddenly heard the doorbell go off. It was somewhere around 2 a.m.
No thanks.
I slowly climbed out of my bed, doubting on whether I had actually heard it or not, and glanced out my window. Horrified, I would actually see the same man. To my satisfaction, I didn't see anything. I walked out of my room and towards the front door, picking up the bat that sat next to it and held it tightly. Looking out the peephole and not seeing anything, I put the bat down and walked away. As I entered the hallway leading to my room, the doorbell rang yet again. I was frozen in fear, but I went through the same routine. Nobody there. But I went through and made sure every door and window was locked before I went to sleep. When I woke up in the morning and brought it up to my family, nobody had heard the doorbell go off, not even my older brother who slept in the room right next to the front door. What was that?
Brilliant. It's like the things that I've seen, like you've seen. It's scary, isn't it?
I don't like shit like that.
I don't
if
like
my
it either.
doorbell was going off, but then I told you about that phone call I got as well, right? That they could see me. Do you remember? Did I tell you?
No.
Did I tell you? Did I tell you?
No.
So, and Helen got one literally minutes after as well.
You didn't say they could see you.
No, they were like, the way they were talking,
Yes.
they knew I was in my house.
That's right, you did tell me.
And I was on the sofa, and then the dog got up on the sofa, and they said, "Oh, is that your dog?" But they kept saying my name over and over. Do you like, "Oh, hi, Emily."
But
Emily,
that's
is that you?" And then-
impossible.
No, because you can't see.
That's why it's impossible.
Yeah, but when I told Helen about it, I told her that it was at like, I think it was 11:07. And she was out that night, so she didn't answer her phone. But she said she saw the phone ringing, but she didn't answer. But hers was at 11:09.
I mean,
From a no caller ID.
it would have freaked me out. Massively freaked me out.
Honestly. But my phone was dead, didn't it? So it turned off, so I didn't even get to sort of row with them.
Row with them. No, you can't.
No, you fucking can't. Who are you
This
talking
is what
to?
you're
Who is
wearing. Get in the shower.
this? But my phone went dead.
I mean,
Yeah, no, shit like that.
you know, it was funny because I listened to the podcast we've just done, as I always do when we upload, And I've all week I've been thinking about the black-eyed people, the black-eyed children.
So that is something similar, isn't it?
To me it is, yeah. And I can't, for some reason, I've just been thinking about it, and
That's what you want us to watch tonight, isn't it?
there isn't a film.
Some like Children of the Corn shit.
That's a good film. There are so
I've
many.
never watched.
I've started watching Supernatural. Have you ever watched that?
Nope.
It's not even that it's scary, because obviously I want to say it's like a up-to-date version of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but there's some really fucked up shit on that as well. But yeah, anything horror and I'm like into it. Right. Oh, go on.
No, it's alright. Okay.
Right. Babysitter.
Oh.
It was a Tuesday afternoon. I got a text that said, "Hey, my name is Jessica and my daughter's name is Rose. Please come to blah 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 and babysit my daughter for an hour and you'll get 50 quid. I decided I'd go. I drove over to the house."
Well, hang on. Not even who is this?
No,
How
no,
did
no.
you get my number?
I told you it is. It's
Who-
Jessica. It's Jessica.
Yeah, but how did you get my number? How did you...
She doesn't care.
50 quid, I'll do it.
Yeah, so would I, to be fair.
There
My
are questions to ask it. Oh my god.
For an hour and I'll give you 50 quid. I decided I'd go.
Bargain.
I drove over to the house. The house had flowers gathered all around it. I knocked on the door. A young woman around the age of 20 to 25 opened the door. "Oh, hello there," she said. I replied, "Are you Emily?" She said, she said, "Are you Emily, the babysitter?" "Yes, I am." "Great, come in, Jessica," she shouted. "Come in!" Getting to the point where we're almost done with the stories. Rose, come down here. The girl came. We talked for about another 20 minutes. I'm going. We talked for about another 20 minutes and Jessica said goodbye and left. For the first 10 minutes, everything was going smoothly until Rose said something peculiar. "Emily," she said. "What is it?" I replied. "If I wanted, could I eat someone?" I was terrified by this.
Do what you like, love.
Rose was 6
After I've
years
left.
old. 6-year-old girls are meant to like My Little Pony, Disney and other things like that. So I just said, no. We carried on for another 30 minutes and then she said, "I hate my mum." "Why?" I asked, confused. She always makes me clean up the blood." At that very moment, I froze. I wanted to run out of the house, but couldn't. After 10 minutes of silence, running around, Jessica came back. As soon as she opened the door, I was relieved to be leaving. She handed me 50 quid and I said thanks. Thanks. The only
Bye.
two things I thought when I walked out of the house was she a murderer and did she want to kill me?
Oh, are you going back? For another 50 quid for an hour?
I mean,
Where's she been for an hour?
who just goes, "Yeah, no worries." Not, "Where are your references? Where'd you get my number from? So you know, blah, blah, blah." You're just like, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
like
you
Yellow
go,
Pages.
why did you give my number to that fucking weirdo?
Can you imagine if you were babysitting and she was like, "Can I eat someone?"
Like, not today.
Depends what you mean.
Not today.
Yeah.
Not on my watch.
Not today. And the other question is, she always makes me clean up the blood.
Clean up the blood, eh?
Yeah, that's weird. What
Oh.
blood? Me, I would be like,
I mean-
what blood? What do you mean eat someone? I'd be all up in her business.
I would never be going back there. Ever again.
I mean, kids are quite creepy.
Yeah. Kids
Do you
are
ever-
weird.
I can't even ask you that. Can't
Do I
say
what?
it. No, I was going to say, do you work with creepy kids, but you can't even answer that. Carry
I
on.
can say yeah.
Do you work with creepy kids?
Actually, do you know what? I don't know if I've actually... have I had anything weird said? Not really.
Okay.
mean, anything we'd said would have to be reported anyway.
Because I think kids can be quite creepy. I personally don't think I've ever met any creepy kids. Annoying, but
Yeah, plenty annoying. No, I don't think I have. Not creepy. Not like, I wouldn't like to meet them out on a dark night. Type thing.
because that's what I mean. Kids are really cute, and then you've got kids, and you're just like, oh. Should we go on a ghost hunt tonight?
They must have been having them on.
I don't
6.
think so. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you ever watch a horror and these
Yeah,
kids,
it's the age as well. Actually,
That's what I
It's
mean.
Age 6. It's not.
it's not something.
It's not that age where you can be like, yeah, get them on board.
Yeah,
and they'd be
or
able to
and
sort of
yeah, or
play
an
it
age.
through.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like where you're winding up
Yeah.
your babysitter. 6 is too young to wind up your
Yeah, it
babysitter. It just makes it even more freaky.
Yeah, it is a bit. Oh, I don't know how to feel about that.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Over to you, babe.
I'm still freaking about freaky kids.
Kids are terrifying when they're freaky. You wouldn't automatically.
I'm not being funny. I just don't understand why she asked no questions. She just saw like 50 quid and like, yeah, okay, see you in an hour.
Did
Like,
she say how old she was? I can't remember.
I don't feel like she did.
She didn't. The mum was about 20 to 25. That's the only age she gave. I wouldn't go
It's a
back,
no.
I can
Yeah, it's
assure
a
you.
no.
Yeah,
It's
it'd be
just a
like no
no.
from me.
But I don't think I'd go in the first place. Like, I mean, the 50 quid probably would sway me a little bit. But,
Right, yeah. Okay.
No. Odd. Right, supernatural encounters. Again. I don't know what this was. Did I just read this one? No, I didn't.
See where we're at? Every now and then I'm like drifting off. Got one more long story. I'm like, am I going to be able to do it?
I don't know how to rationalise this. I think it was sleep paralysis. Last night I had a really creepy experience. I was dreaming about something normal and then all of a sudden it switched to something demonic and weird, trying to jab my ribs with its fingers. I felt the pain and woke up and it was still there, the presence. It was dark, I could barely see, but I could still feel it and the fingers. It was some kind of shadow entity when I was awake, but in my dream I saw its face. I managed to turn around, but I felt extreme fear and could still feel something behind me. I went under the blanket and tried to go back to sleep. I felt fully awake, but then it happened again and I could still feel it there, but it drained me of all my energy, so I ended up sleeping more than I had planned. Weird. Also, the face in my dream was distorted, genderless, black and grey and slightly humanoid, but it felt too old to be a ghost. When I woke up, it was just a shadow creature by my bed. My mother thinks it's a jinn. She's Muslim. I am not Muslim and don't believe in the supernatural, but this was a really jarring experience.
J-I-N or G?
J-I-N-N. I feel like
We have, I remember.
looked at a jinn before. Could you imagine
It is, it's a demonic.
actually feeling it jab you?
It's Islamic, supernatural beings of Islam. The whatever, it's like, it's demonic. Yeah, but, did she say she had marks?
No, just it happened while she was still awake. A second time,
I was like, what's going on here?
and just it drained her that it actually made her go to like it made her go to sleep.
Yeah, that's
With no
terrifying.
energy. So the very first,
You talking to me? You talking
Yes.
to them?
so there is like a thing. So someone said, forced. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Say it again.
Sorry. Forced. I'm sorry you had to go through that. And it's okay if you aren't religious. I have a generic way to help deal with these entities.
Oh my
This
God.
lady this person has come up with like some crazy spell stuff that I'm not going to go through.
Yeah. Well, you can. Yeah.
No, I'm not. It says like what it does and what to do. I'm like, no. But lovely.
Right. I'm back in the game. I
The
think.
OP says thanks for your response. Even though I haven't been a Muslim for a very long time, I will say my course,
You know,
just in case. I'm sorry if I said that wrong.
Not to make it religious, but every religious belief and non-believers have like a specific demon that they first think of, don't they? Like I've noticed that when we do these paranormal stuff, it'd be like us Christians will be like it's a demon, the devil, blah blah blah, and then you've got the Muslims that think this and
Jinn.
oh yeah. But you know, I think that about religion and demons anyway. Isn't it interesting that we all have our, what happens if it is all just the same thing, good and bad? All the same thing, good,
All the same,
but we all
yeah,
just call it
we
different
just call it
names.
different things. And just have a different face for it.
I think so.
I think that that's everything in life, isn't it? There's a good and a bad, a positive and a negative in everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I think that goes
So-
along with people as well. You've got really positive people and you've got really negative people.
Yeah. But
So-
yin and yang, the north and the south.
It's interesting.
It's yeah.
But I'm just thinking about it now. Like there's so many different aspects. But yeah, we've read that before. Yeah, no. I believe that. I believe they did see something. Something was there.
Feel
Same
it,
thing
yeah,
happened
and
to me.
actually feel it as well, though.
Yeah. The presence.
But actually, it's touch them.
Yeah, no, so no.
Yeah, that would. The paralysis thing, where like you're so scared that you can't move.
Yeah.
That feeling.
Giving
I
them full
can
control.
relate to.
Yeah.
But actually feeling something touch me.
Yeah, so yeah, that would terrify me.
No. Fuck.
Right, so I'm going to go for my long one because I feel like I've had too many sips and I don't know if I'm going to make it through, but I'm going to do my very best. This is another.
Excuse me.
It's the gin.
Excuse me again.
Right. I'll do my very best. Okay. Okay. The closet in the door room, 11:30. That's your stomach. You said you've eaten your toast with
No,
your
that was like the bubbles.
Oh, a burp. Right. It was the fall of 2016, my first semester at college and my first time living away from home. Me and my best friend Tommy moved into a dorm room on campus together. And life was great. We stayed up way too late every night, eating microwave food and playing video games and partying with the other students on the floor. Halloween landed on a Monday that year, but that didn't stop us from throwing a wild rager. It wasn't a typical party. Everyone on the floor was in on it. Some people even decorated their rooms to be all spooky. You couldn't walk 5 feet without running into a cooler full of beer or a bottle of gin. Gin. Parties like this were not allowed, but we knew we could get away with it on Halloween. That's rude. I remember walking down the hallway with Tommy, going in and out of all of my friends' rooms. One room had a monster munch blasting out while playing drinking games. Another was lit with all black lights and a hot box. The room was full of vape clouds.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Whenever we had had enough of one room, we just hopped over to the next one. It was like the college kids' version of trick or treat. After a few games and a few beer pongs and way too many shots, I ended up crashing on someone's beanbag. I don't know whose room I was in, but they had a cheesy horror movie playing on the TV and I got stuck right into it. Eventually I snapped back into reality when someone started kicking the beanbag. There you are. It was Sydney, the girl I sat next to in photography. She lived just a few levels up and I invited her to the party earlier on in the day. Though nothing had been said out loud yet, it was obvious that she had a thing for me, and to be honest, I liked her too. I'd never forgotten how she looked at me that night. Dirty blonde hair tied back into a ponytail, black framed glasses and a t-shirt with a purple witch riding a broomstick, and light grey denim jacket unbuttoned. He really liked her.
Like, he remembers.
That's when you know, like, if a man is like, this is what you wore, that is a proper indication.
Yeah, he'll remember that for the rest of his life.
Yeah. You showed up. I was still laying down, bent backwards and looking up at her upside down. How drunk are you right now? She crossed her arms and gazed at me with a mock of disapproval. I grinned from ear to ear and chuckled. She helped me to my feet and I was hit with an intense wave of dizziness. After a few minutes of regaining control of my body, we joined back up with Tommy and everybody else for more games. No more drinking for me though. I was too far gone already. People were constantly coming in and out of our rooms, and I started to notice a trend in their conversations. They were all talking about room 1113. The dorm room 1113 belonged to a guy named Levi. He didn't have a roommate. It was just him in there, and I never found out why. He was a weird one, the kind of guy to randomly derail a conversation into something completely unrelated and something really dark. None of us were very close to him, but it wasn't like we hated him or anything. I will admit though, if I knew he was going to be somewhere, I would make it a point to avoid that place. Levi was hosting some sort of haunted house in his room that night. I just laughed and said, fuck that. When Sydney said, that's you. When Sydney said, we should go and check it out. She looked up at me.
Hell to the no!
No! She looked at me with a sad expression on her face. But I love haunted houses. That would be me to you, but I love it, Emily.
And I'll be like, okay, let's go then. Is that what he's about to say?
She said to him, you're not too scared, are you? She said with a sarcastic smirk. Oh, Levi. Yeah, I'm terrified. She laughed and we continued our game, but we kept hearing passing conversations about the crazy shit that was going down in Levi's room. I decided to ask Tommy if he knew anything about it. He told us Levi was charging $5 for a trip into his haunted closet.
Shut up.
Haunted closet? Are you for real? $5 to go and stand in a rectangle? I thought he had to be joking. I hadn't gone down to see it yet, but Chase was saying it's fucking crazy, man. Like, I guess there's a whole other room connected or something, Tommy replied. This particularly perked Sydney's interest. A secret room in his closet, Nate. We have to go and see it. The closet is a room 1113. Was the last place on earth I wanted to be. But Sydney was so excited. How could I say no? I pulled out my wallet to make sure that I had a $5. I did.
10? Because there's 2 of you going. You've got to pay for her too.
I did. She lit up with joy. That was my way of saying shh. I lit up with joy and I rolled my eyes. Yeah.
That would be me.
Okay, let's go to this creepy closet. Tommy, if I'm not back in 20 minutes, better call the police. He laughed and agreed. He walked down the hallway. We walked down the hallway and found a line of 5 people waiting outside the door and read 11:13. I asked them if they had been through yet, but none of them had. They all had stories from their friends. Each story was different and completely unbelievable. I just chalked it all up to I can't read that. There's no way Levi was pulling off a Hollywood level effect in his homemade haunted house. Sydney interlocked her fingers with mine and we listened and gave my head a squeeze. My heart gave my hand a squeeze. My heart leapt a bit. This was the first time that we had held hands. I squeezed back and all the feelings of regret disappeared. I remember thinking, hey, I guess this $5 isn't for nothing after all. The door opened and a lanky dude with an afro came out. He didn't say a word, but he was visibly shaken and his eyes were wide. Then he just slowly walked out of the door of the building. I don't know what he saw in there, but it must have been pretty bad. 2 girls at the front of the line exchanged nervous glances with each other and then walked into the room, closing the door behind them. They were inside for about 10 minutes before they opened the door. They came stumbling out into the hallway. One was crying and the other had her arm around her friend, trying to console her. We were all concerned and asked what happened. I don't know, she replied. The girl who wasn't crying. She got really scared by something, but I never saw it. She won't speak and I don't know what to do. The next 3 people in front of us went in, one at a time. The first was gone for 10 minutes too, but he came out fine. He actually laughed when he saw us. Pretty freaky shit in there, he chuckled and pointed his thumb back at the door behind him. Then it was Crate's turn, one of Tommy's many ex-girlfriends. She had gone for less than 5 minutes
Crate?
before the door swung open, unleashing an outburst of rage. What the fuck is wrong with you, Crawford? She looked absolutely pissed. How could you do something like that, fucking freak? Levi peered around the corner. It's not real, Crate. I'm sorry. But she was already storming away. What the hell happened? I asked Levi. Sometimes things just seem too realistic. That's all. It's nothing to worry about. He gave me a smile and was probably meant to reassure us, but it wasn't convincing. Nervously trying to move things along, he shifted his attention to the next in the line. Colin, you're up next, buddy. Got the money? Actually, I just realised that I didn't bring my wallet. An obvious lie. Sorry, Crawford, he squirreled after away from the door, and then it was just me and Sydney. Levi shifted his gaze to us. I guess that means it's your turn, Sydney. Sydney said, bouncing up to the door and nervously excited. I wanted to follow in Colin's footsteps, but she grabbed my arm and led me into Levi's room. Once the door closed behind us, I found myself trapped in an atmosphere of pungent aroma, of old takeouts and sweat. A wad of cash was sitting on his bed, surrounded by pizza boxes. He added my $5 bill.
It's pretty traumatic.
That's traumatic. That's why everyone's so terrified. To the pile. He added my $5 to the pile and ushered us to the closet. I opened the door to reveal a super regular looking closet. There were some coats hanging up, shoes on the ground, and no Halloween decorations. What do we do? I asked. Step inside and see what happens, Levi replied. I looked at Sydney and she stared back with a puzzled expression. I think she was finally having regrets, but it was too late to back out. We stepped inside the musty closet and Levi shut the door, engulfing us in darkness. We stood in silence for half a minute and I let out a sigh. Is this some sort of joke, Levi? No response from the other side of the door. Maybe it's a puzzle, like an escape room, Sydney said optimistically. I don't see how this could be possible, Tommy said. There was a secret room, remember? Tommy likes to talk out of his arse. He probably hasn't even been in there. I can't see a damn thing, but I could hear and feel Sydney fumbling around in the dark and shuffling to the back of the closet, blindly patting the walls. Then she let out a gasp. Holy shit, there's a door. Suddenly, light poured into the closet. There was actually another room connected to Levi's. It looked like a typical dorm room with the same exact colour walls, carpet and light fixtures. But it was completely unfurnished. There was nothing in there at all. This is so weird. Whose room is this anyway? Sydney asked. I don't know. I guess nobody used it this semester. Why the hell are the closets connected? That seems a bit of a privacy issue. Maybe that's why it isn't being used. As we paced around the room, I was expecting a jump scare or something, but nothing happened. I realised that I couldn't hear the music playing from the hallway anymore, which was odd. I made my way to the front door and placed my fingers on the handle and hesitated. It hit me that this was obviously the path to take. Certainly, that's not in there, that was my knee. Certainly Levi had something set up on the other side of the door to scare everybody who opened it. I lowered my hand and looked through the peephole first, and it was complete darkness. The bastard taped over the peephole. It does say that, the peephole. The peephole. What do you think, Crawford? Put on the other side of this thing, Sid. I turned around and noticed that she was staring out of the window. She didn't seem to hear me. Her full attention was fixed on something outside. I went over to her. Hey, you're all right? Then I saw what she was looking at. Out in the field, something was staring back at us. It was dark and shaped was hard to make out, but I could tell that it was tall. Its eyes were glowing white and its head looked deformed. We kept on staring at it, expecting it to move or something, but it didn't. That's a pretty good prop. I wonder how he made that thing. Where the hell are we, Nate? Her voice was shaky. What do you mean? This isn't our campus. My blood went cold. She was right. Why didn't I notice? The window should be facing the courtyard outside and the other building should be visible. All we could see was an open field. I think I'm too drunk, Sid. Let's go back. She nodded, but kept her eyes glued on the figure outside. I grabbed her hand this time and she jumped a little, but it broke her tense and she finally looked away and looked at me. Her eyes were filled with genuine fear and it was so quiet I could have sworn I could hear her heart racing, or maybe it was mine. We made our way back into the closet and began rumbling our way through Levi's things. My hand brushed up and down and smooth textured walls at the back of the closet and my stomach dropped. Oh fuck! Oh, fuck, fuck, fuck. I became frantic, feeling all over the wall that should have had a door. The handle was gone. I dropped to the floor, searching for a gap that should have been there, but my hand slid straight onto the carpet. What is it? She asked, but she already figured out before I said anything. We slammed our fists on the wall in desperation, but nothing helped. We yelled so loud that our ears hurt and nobody heard. After a while, we just stood there in silence. Sydney broke it when she began to cry. I wrapped my arms around her and pulled her close. Hey, it's going to be okay. It's just a trick, right? We can figure this out. Like an escape room, remember? I felt her hand shake up and down against my chest and her shoulders became more relaxed. We came back into the empty room and I glazed out of the window again. The figure was gone. Sydney noticed too. We looked at each other but didn't see anything. I began scanning the room for some sort of clue on what we should be doing, but couldn't find anything, not a single thing. I think we need to try the front door, she sounded. I gave her a slow nod and I dreadily walked over to the door, having to open it even more now, but that is the only thing outside and we must find out how to get out this room. I checked the peephole again, but it was still dark. I placed my hand around the doorknob and began to gently turn, quietly as possible. I felt the suitable clicks in my palm and slowly cracked the door open. I peeked through the sliver of space and gasped. I expected to see a hallway, but the door led straight to outside. I opened it more to get a better view, revealing an empty field, just like what we were seeing through the window. No lights, no buildings, no cars, nothing in sight, nothing at all, except a tall grass. Sydney pushed past me and stepped out of the door, frantically looking around. She stared, and I think she was having a panic attack. I tried to tell her to come back, but it was like she couldn't hear me. I started yelling and still no acknowledgement. She was wandering out too far and I was getting scared. Finally, I stepped out of the door, walked up to her and placed my hand on her shoulder. She let out a high-pitched scream and spun around. When she looked at me, her eyes were wide and her face drained of all colour. Then she let out another ear-splitting scream so loud my hands reflected back and spun to my ears to cover them. She shot off in a dead sprint and I turned around expecting something to be behind me, but there wasn't. What was she scared of? When I turned back, she was already fading out of sight. I ran after her, screaming, Sid, come back please. I chased her for a few minutes, but it was too dark, I couldn't see anything. The only light source was coming from the dorm room door. That was still left wide open. I completely lost sight of her. Scared and confused, I ran back to the door and noticed that it was just a door. I could see into the room, but there was no building on the outside. It just stood there like a portal between worlds. I rushed in, fearing that it would suddenly close at the last second and trap me into the field. But it didn't. I stood in the empty room, trying to gather my thoughts. I hate myself for losing Sydney, but she had to come back, right? There was nowhere else that she could go. She had to come back. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw something pressed up against the glass of the window on the other side of the room. When I turned my head, it scurried out of sight. I could tell that it wasn't the figure from before. It was smaller and shaped differently. Then I remember the door was still open. I quickly darted over to it, and before I slammed it shut, I could hear the rustling in the grass growing closer. I locked the door, and almost immediately the handle started violently shaking. I screamed and fell to the ground. I fell in terror. There was a muffled, angry moan from the other side. Whatever was out there started pounding on the door so hard that I thought for sure it would break right off the hinges. I scrambled back into the closet and shut the door. I made myself as small as I could, cowering in the corner, and then began to sob uncontrollably. After a long time, the noises calmed down, but I didn't dare move. I don't know how long I sat there, curled up on the floor. I think I must have lost consciousness at some point because I remember feeling the waking up. I was in the same position, but my muscles felt stiff, like I hadn't moved for several hours. There were shadows moving under the door now. The feeling of dread washed over me again as I remember the situation that I still appeared trapped in. I stood up and made my way to the closet door. I pushed my ear up to the wood and jumped when I was met with 3 gentle knocks from the other side. "Who's there?" No reply. I don't know why, but I felt completely compelled to be polite and open the door, so I did. The thing on the other side was dressed in rags, its grey skin shivered, and its head was bald. It was like staring at a rotten fruit, but in human form. I stepped into the room, which looked like it had been abandoned for years now, the paint falling off and flickering. The ceiling was cracked, and the windows were so dirty you couldn't see through it at all. The grey creature bowed its head to me like it was giving thanks, then entered the closet that I just exited. When the door closed, I noticed there were several more of them waiting in line. They were all wearing similar clothes, old stained clothes, poorly sewn together into cloaks. None of them looked at me. They all kept their heads down and seemed to shiver. I think they were in pain. The way that they clutched themselves, the small raspy noises that came from them were all exhales. It reminded me of being sick with the flu. At first I was scared, but then I felt pity. Not knowing what to do, I went to the front door again and looked through the peephole. To my surprise, the hallway was on the other side. I ripped the door open to discover that the rest of the building was in the same condition as the dorm room. I stepped out and peered down both ways of the hall and then faced the room again. The grey wrinkly things weren't shivering anymore. They stood up straight and revealing their deceptively tall they were. Before they wouldn't even look at me anymore, not even in my direction. Now they were all slightly making eye contact with me. It made me feel uneasy. I bowed my head slowly, like the first one did to me, and then I closed the door on them. I'm not sure if that was the right move, but they were creeping me out. They didn't seem to make any objections to me leaving, but either way, I sprinted to the front door entrance of the building and flung the door open, only to be met with more disappointment. It was morning now, and all I could see is in every direction was endless expansion of grassy fields. I stared at the emptiness for a while, calling out Sydney's name and hoping that maybe she would hear me. I knew that I wouldn't get a response though. I turned around and began to take in the complex of the situation that now filled me and the building. Now it looked like it had been rotting for decades. I decided to go back inside. Maybe those grey things could help me somehow. I don't know. I didn't want to face them again, especially after how they were looking at me when I left. But I don't know what else to do. Then I realised that I didn't really or actually know what the door that it was or where it led to. It was a connection to Levi's room, I guess, and that would make it 11:14. I started making my way back in the direction I came from. When I heard movement, I froze in place. It sounded like something was rummaging through something metallic. Slowly, I tiptoed to the corner and peeked around. The thing that was pressed up against the window last night was at the end of the hallway, attempting to get into the vending machine. I got a much better look at it this time, and I imagine will be forever burned into my brain. It had human skin and human limbs, but way too many of them. The way it crawled around was spider-like. Some of its arms were tiny and frail, while others were freakishly long and muscular. Its mouth and eyes were too big for its small, bald head, and the whole body was covered with dark bruises. I got the feeling that it wasn't always this way. Some sort of terrible thing happened to it. Something had gone wrong. I don't know, but it was horrible to look at. It didn't seem to notice me, so I slowly crept towards room 11:14. I got all the way down the hallway and made it to the door without making a sound. I was a lot closer to the creature now, but it completely ignored me and carried on trying to get into the vending machine. Gently, I began to twist the doorknob, but it wouldn't turn. I tried harder and it still wouldn't budge. They locked me out, I whispered to myself. Big mistake. Those creatures heard me, even though I spoke so quietly. Its head jerked in my direction, and suddenly I was staring into deep black eyes. Neither of us moved for a second, but it lunged forward. A dozen bony limbs scrambled into action, and it crept towards me at an unreal speed. I sprinted down the opposite way of the hall, and it let out a deep, hateful moan as it pursued me. It was gaining on me, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to outrun it. I had to think of something fast. I don't think I could pacifically fight it. So the only option was to hide. My own dorm room was coming up, and I made the split decision to try it. Thank God the door was unlocked. I slammed the door behind me at first, as fast as I could, and locked it. The creature was enraged and threw a tantrum just like it had done the night before. I sat on my bed, which was covered in a thick layer of dust, and waited for the freakish thing to leave. Eventually it did, and that's when I heard something new coming from my own closet, the sound of a radio and chatter. I got up and quickly went to the back. I cried tears of relief when I found another door. Without wasting a second, I opened it. I stepped through. 3 cops were staring at me like I was a ghost. I was back in Levi's room. The investigators were dumbfounded. They had already searched the closet and everything else in Levi's room, and here I was, appearing out of it like fucking 6 hours later. They rechecked the closet after I returned, but the door at the end was gone. Me and Levi were brought to the police station for questioning. I told them everything, and it must have sounded batshit crazy, but I wasn't the only one. All of the other students that went into the closet had already given their accounts. For a long time, Levi and I were primary suspects in Sydney's missing person case. Did you love it?
It was good.
It's so good.
So did we find Sydney?
There were points where I was like, my brain was like, ah, because of the beer. But it was a great story.
It was a good story.
It was a great story. I'm gonna get you
I
onto
got a
this
little
subreddit.
confused.
At what part?
Like, how
That could have
did
been me.
Yeah, I'm like, how did he end up back in his room to get through there to come back out into?
Because he
He was
ran.
mad.
Exactly. The fact that somebody
Can't
came up with
literally
that.
just Run.
What a dickhead.
Like, does she not watch horror films?
And what was that thing with all the limbs?
No,
Was
thank you.
it another
So the
universe?
all the missing people have joined together.
But everybody's come out of the closet except Sydney. So maybe.
But everyone's come out of the closet like 10 minutes within.
Yeah, and he was gone for 6 hours. But maybe they ventured out the door and nobody else ventured out the door.
Maybe.
And the fact that he had to go through his own room in his own closet to come out of Levi's closet is very interesting. Or did, that was a burp for you all, or did the others go straight to their rooms and straight out the closet? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It is.
That's why it's such a good story.
It's a bit bizarre.
I'll get you onto the
I feel
Reddit
like I
thing.
need more information.
There is no more information, but it is a different Reddit thread that I found, and it's called No Sleep.
Great.
And literally everyone that put and then someone said, I'm super interested in hearing how your how the how the investigation's going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's not enough information.
Well,
I need more.
there is no more.
It's a good story though.
It was a good story.
Is it going into?
There were
It's
some.
going to be a book.
There are so many good stories on there that I was like, wow, man, these people are just. I could never.
Very creative.
I could never. Or maybe I could. I mean, I could be a singer.
You're very creative.
See? Okay, you are finishing this off tonight.
Alright.
How many have I done? Like, I feel like I've done like 4.
Ish. 3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mine were 20 minutes long.
Wake up! I'm joking. Right, so mine's. I was going to do a story, but I'm not going to do a story because the stories that I've got are long.
Okay.
So I'm going to do a supernatural encounters one.
Like it.
Haggish demons with broken legs screamed in the corner of my room at night.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks. Go and cry somewhere else.
This is a burn your house and move
And
situation.
why are you in my room crying about your leg?
Yeah.
Go somewhere else and cry about your leg.
Hang on, let me read the story before we get all like moody with this
With the
haggard
ghost.
demon. Like, how dare you invade my space?
Yeah. About
Anyway.
your leg.
A few years ago, I awoke one night in blood-curdling screams. I have had experiences of hypnagogic hallucinations. Hypnagogic. I don't know what that is. Hypnagogic. I'm probably saying that wrong. Hallucinations in the past, much like sleep paralysis, and assumed upon waking it was nothing more than my mind playing tricks on me. I sat up, moving to turn on my light, but it would not switch on. When I grabbed my phone to use my phone's flashlight, it wouldn't turn on either. When I finally looked at the man, He appeared old and malnourished. His back was turned to me and he was clutching his legs which appeared broken, poking out in unnatural directions. He was screaming in pain, almost deafeningly. I stared at it for a few moments, trying to process what it was I was seeing, when it finally turned to me. Upon noticing my presence, it stopped screaming, instead beginning to crawl across my floor to my bedside with its legs dragging behind.
No thanks.
Once it reached me, it grabbed my ankle. This is when I began to panic. You panicked then?
I would have panicked way before.
Way before.
Way before.
Way
before. Like 20 minutes before.
Yeah! As it felt real and I wasn't sure what to do. Impulsively, I kicked it back and it fell, slowly rising to look at me once again. It began laughing, then tilted its head and asked me if I wanted it to leave in an almost demeaning manner. I didn't respond and the creature sighed before responding one last time with, "Okay, I'll leave," and then disappearing. This wasn't the first account I'd have with this creature, as I saw it staring at me from the edge of my bed a couple of times before, and saw him in my dreams as well. There were also supernatural occurrences between this man, the apartment I lived in, and the apartment I inevitably moved into after these experiences. Though whatever the apparition, it was continuing to follow me. I am unable to find any information of this man and wanted to know if anyone had any similar experiences.
Oh my god. So this spirit is attached to him.
It's going to different places.
So it's attached to him, not the building. It makes me feel like it's demonic.
It's mad.
Do you want me to leave? Yes, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who invited you?
So it's attached to him, makes me feel like it's demonic, wearing him down, wearing him down, wearing him down. He needs like a whole exorcism on
Sage
himself.
ain't gonna cut
It's
it.
like
Sage ain't gonna cut it.
it's not gonna help. It's like when I show you this film later, it's attached to the family. So it don't matter where you go, that fucker's coming with you. So it's
like it's part of the luggage.
Yeah, you're like in the fight of your life. That you need a fucking exorcism. No, bitch.
That's what you need.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like I was reading for about 3 hours.
Honestly, I thought that
was it
story.
boring?
I thought the story, I'm like, it's never going to end.
Was it good though?
It's a good story. It was long.
It was long. I felt like it was long, and now I felt like
Whereas the first story was like really good.
Yeah.
But that one felt long.
Yeah, it was really difficult, and I was like, don't lose it. But a lot of the time I was like,
started to get a bit of an ache in my
yeah,
ass
I was
cheek.
like, and I was like, is it still good? And then when it ended, I thought, oh, thank God for that. It was a great story.
Yeah, it was.
It
just
could
long.
have done with about 2 paragraphs could have been taken out of that. But I loved it.
It was great.
Right. I feel like that's it. I feel like we are done. It has been a blast.
Happy Halloween, guys.
Oh yeah, happy
Halloween.
Halloween. So when we get off now, we're going to have a few more drinks, do a few more TikToks, and we're going to eat. We have not eaten all day. We are Hank Marvin. Are you Hank Marvin? I'm fucking Hank Marvin. Got fucking Hank Marvin. She's about to try my favourite pizza. It's only like £2.50. I'm telling you, it's better than takeaway, in my opinion. It's got a hot dog in it. Do you like hot dog?
Yeah, well, sometimes.
It's in the crust.
Ow!
It's in the crust. It's an Iceland pizza. And then with popcorn and that. I'm about to terrify her.
Oh, fucking hell.
Right, my darlings.
Whoa, hang on, what do you mean?
What?
What we watching?
Horrors.
Yeah, what? What have you picked?
Well, there's there's like The Conjuring and that. I mean, I have everything.
The Conjuring.
I feel like you need to watch The Conjuring 1, at least.
That's probably the worst one though, isn't it?
It hasn't got none in it.
Alright, that's fine.
Or
Because
there's
I'm the nun
Annabelle.
tonight. I think I've... No. I don't
She was
want
about to go, I think I've seen that.
I'm
Bitch,
lying.
ain't seen
No,
none
I
of it.
haven't.
No. So you don't want the Annabelle doll for a present?
No, because there's a shop that my boys love going in, like a comic. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a comic store, and they love it. And the guy's really great in there. Like, he's awesome, and the shit that he has in this store is like
I feel like I
a
need to go
full
to the
life,
store.
full size Annabelle doll in
Yeah,
his
but you
window,
know that's-
and Chucky doll.
But you know...
Nope.
No. You know the actual Annabelle doll was actually just a Teddy Ragdoll thing. It wasn't the Annabelle now. So the Annabelle doll now...
Like the China doll face type thing.
No, even cuter. Just like, you know those big chubby cheek dolls when we were younger?
Cabbage Patch Kids.
Kind of, but
Which
with
are
just...
also fucking scary.
But with just a fabric face. I mean, now I wouldn't have a doll, and I'm glad I didn't have a daughter, because now after watching Annabelle...
She wouldn't have a doll, but her whole... I don't even... What, They're
Actually...
faces in your...
They're actually...
home.
I've got Princess Diana, Lady Helen is the purple one. They're worth a lot of money. They're those dolls you buy, but... oh my God, that went right in my eye. But they were actually... I inherited them from my grandma. The 1920 green one I got for Christmas.
I think they killed your grandma.
It was old age, 100%. Then the 1920s is from Sue's mum who died. Then
They've all come from dead people.
See that white figure up there of the man and woman wedding?
Yeah.
That is from my wedding
yeah,
present.
Yeah.
Then the angel up there, that is from Linda.
And the creepy bitch in the window.
Oh, she is, so those two is what my mum got from her mum when she died. And then when my mum died, I got them. See, now you can't even slag them off.
I'm glad the clowns are gone though.
Clowns are outside the window,
Yeah,
waiting for you to go to sleep.
Clowns.
And yeah, that's kind of it really. And then the rest are pictures, unless she means my face looking at her.
There is just a lot of faces in here, that's all. Like
Buddha.
eyes.
He's sleeping though.
Yeah, he's sleeping beautifully.
This eye, if you die, I'll be able to show the police exactly
I hate
how you
that
died. I'll be like, tracking pain.
It'll be looking over there.
Yeah.
When that happens,
I'll
I'll
be
be over
like-
here and it'll be looking
I'll be
at
like,
the dog.
Annabelle came, and
there
because
you
I
go.
thought it was a present. Yeah, but you just brought me loads more faces for my
There's
20th,
there's no faces on there.
which is even worse. It's even worse. There's like, they got me a present, my girls got me
They?
a present for, yeah, well you all did, didn't you?
They.
I said they, my
They.
girls, got me a present for my 20 wedding anniversary. That was right, innit? And they put the cats and the dog on it. It was very cute. Right, we're actually going.
Yeah.
Right.
Latest Taters,
Latest
enjoy your
Taters.
Halloween festivities.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow. What do you think of that? I think. What don't you think of that? I think that girl has got everything that